Spaghetti with lobster. It's a real treat. In fact, I made this for Christmas Eve last year. It's such a special dish, but the best thing about it is you don't need much time to prepare it, and everyone is going to love it, particularly if they love lobster. Now, my fishmonger Manny from Planet Seafood has sourced me some gorgeous lobsters. They were raw lobsters, and what I've done is place them into some really hot water to blanch them for about 30 seconds. By doing that, it makes it so much easier to take the shells off. So I've done that. We'll pop them to one side, and we're going to work with the shells first. So a bit of olive oil into a hot pan. You want this to be really, really hot because we want to seal them off and get some more colour on them. So in with the shells that I've just roughly chopped, and you'll see that they start to change colour. Just shake them around and just let them cook for a bit until they start to become quite fragrant. Now for these lobster tails, I have taken the intestinal tract out of them, and we're going to cut them into small pieces. So this is not a chunky style pasta sauce, it's quite refined. So just straight down the centre, and then we'll cut them again into 4 strips. And if you can't source lobster or you don't want to use lobster, you can do this recipe exactly the same way, but using prawns. It really works quite nicely together. So instead of using the lobster tails, you would use the prawn shells and heads, and there's so much flavour in them too. Okay, back to our shells. Wow, see the transformation? See how bright orange they are? Just the way they should be, and they smell so sweet. I just love it. Now to flambe this, you could use some ouzo. I'm going to keep it sort of French by adding some pernod. It's just got a lovely aniseed flavour and works really nicely with shellfish. So in it goes. Woo! And you want to flambe that just to take away all of that alcohol, but you want to leave its gorgeous perfume. Smells good. Turn the heat down slightly. We'll also add some white wine. And this right here, just 3 ingredients, makes a fantastic base for our sauce. So I'll just grab another jug and a strainer, and we'll strain this so we can get rid of the shells. Liquid gold right there. Okay, we'll pop that to one side, and let's start frying our other ingredients. So in this same pan, I'll add a good knob of butter, and just to ensure that that butter doesn't burn, always add a splash of olive oil. Some French shallots. You can see how finely chopped they are, and a good amount of that in there. We'll just add them as that butter is melting. Some garlic, 2 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. It is quite a fast sauce, so I do recommend getting everything in its place, or as we say in the cooking terms, mise en place, just so everything is done à la minute. And a little chilli. I'm just using some dried chilli flakes. While that's softening, I'll get onto the tomatoes, so just some cherry tomatoes. These ones are lovely and juicy. We want 1 punnet, and I'll just cut them in half. Right, we'll gather them and we'll pop them into the pan. And don't be shy to just squeeze these tomatoes just to get some juice out of them. We'll shake them and coat them in that yummy French shallot and garlic mixture. Oh, it's smelling good. And just let them blister away slightly. Then we can add our liquid gold. That can go in now. That's the pernod, the white wine, and that reduction with the shells. And this you just want to let bubble away just for a few moments. It's already reduced, so we're not cooking off the alcohol. That's been and gone. So as it comes back up to the boil, just to give this a gorgeous red colour, we'll add some tomato passata, or I'd say about 100 mils, maybe a little more, depending on how many people you're cooking for. And again, let that bubble away. Once it does come up to the boil, turn it down and just gently simmer this for about 5 to 6 minutes. Then we'll get the spaghetti in the water. Okay, my pasta is almost cooked. I want it to be al dente. And to finish our sauce, gee, it smells good. This is yummy as is, but it's going to be even better with the addition of some cooking cream. Now, I like to use cooking cream for this because I don't want it to split, and this also doesn't curdle, particularly when you're working with tomato sauce like this, with the acidity in it. You want to keep that velvety look, so that's why I use that cooking cream, and it also thickens up nicely too. So give that a swirl. I'll add some lemon zest, and you want to leave that lemon zest to the last minute. Okay, and now we can add our lobster. I bet a lot of you out there saying, come on, you've got to cook the lobster. But you can see how fine the pieces are. I just want it to be cooked. I really don't want to overcook it. Lobster overcooked is just, number one, a waste of money. And number two, the texture just completely changes. It becomes rubbery. So really leave that to the last minute. We've also got to put our pasta in there too, so it'll continue cooking. So in with the cream and the lobster, and then just coat it in that lovely sauce. Oh, this is going to be so good. Now, while that just finishes off cooking and that pasta, let's get some herbs organised. A combination of chives, some fresh parsley, and if you have, found some tarragon in my garden. It smells so good, and don't forget we did add some Pernod, so this sort of brings it back to that flavour. Just a little sharp knife will just combine the chives and the parsley together, and I want this to be quite fine. This is a dish where you add soft herbs, not hard herbs like thyme, definitely not rosemary. And also I wouldn't add basil to this. I really want to keep it to those fresh flavours of the parsley and the chives, that mild onion flavour. So run your knife through it a few times. And the chives will do the same thing. So just grab them, bunch them up quite tightly, and finely chop them. All right. A big oval plate for this, and pasta time. So we'll add that straight to our lobster. Don't worry about straining it. It can go straight in like this. And see that starchy water? That is so important just to allow everything to bind together. So once the pasta's in, get yourself a spoon, and we'll add a spoonful, and we'll see how it goes after we toss it and agitate the pan. It may need a little more. And this is where you bring it all together. A few little splatters here and there, that's okay, it's all part of cooking. Oh, it looks good. Now, one handful of our herbs now. Sprinkle that in. Another toss. And that is good to go. I'm plating it up because I want to be a little fancier, but of course you can just pop this in the middle of the table. Just get big amounts of the pasta first, and then I'll dress it with all of that yummy lobster and cream sauce. And you can see that there's still some sauce left over, so it does feed a good amount of people. And I'll just spoon all of this over. You know what? Forget about spooning it, just pour it over. All that lovey. Don't miss any of that. Finally, some fresh herbs, and we'll just sprinkle that over the top. Doesn't that look festive indeed? Yes, I did have this for Christmas Eve, but you know what? Why don't you spoil yourself and make this weekend? It's really good.